Social media did not wake up gently today. It woke up to Erika Kirk's name trending next to Charlie's parents, Vance, and something people are calling the secret flight logs. And before we go any further, let's be crystal clear. None of this has been officially confirmed. We're talking about what viewers, online commentators, and so-called insiders claim is happening behind the scenes, and why fans are suddenly saying Erika's world has been turned completely upside down. According to these online discussions, Charlie's parents may have quietly stepped in, lawyers might be involved, and Erika is allegedly being boxed out while still trying to hold herself together in public. At the same time, her emotional comments about Vance are being replayed, dissected, and turned into theories that she never imagined she'd be facing. Add in people tracking her alleged travel patterns and whispering about mysterious flights that seem to follow her, and the narrative just gets wilder. Is this a grieving family trying to protect the kids? Is it calculated positioning? Or is the internet doing what it always does, taking fragments and building a storm? Tonight, we're breaking down the claims, the reactions, and the unanswered questions everyone's arguing about. The conversation swirling online began with quiet whispers, but those whispers turned into full waves once people started noticing how many mixed signals were coming out around Erika and the Kirk family. Viewers following the situation say the entire atmosphere shifted the moment Charlie's parents, Robert and Catherine, began appearing more frequently in discussions, almost as if they were stepping into a role they had avoided for years. According to online talk, this shift didn't feel random or accidental. It felt intentional, and that intention quickly became the center of speculation. The core of the conversation started when people noticed a subtle change in how Erika carried herself in public moments. Viewers felt she was trying to look composed and polished, while others believed she seemed overwhelmed and exhausted beneath the surface. This contrast set the stage for a wave of emotional interpretations, with many saying they could feel the pressure she was under. At the same time, online commentators began pointing out moments where it looked like Charlie's parents were quietly stepping into a more protective, organized position around the children. This led people to wonder whether there was friction forming beneath the surface. The first major moment that set the internet buzzing was a brief clip where Erika spoke about missing Charlie. The sadness in her voice was clear, but the part that caught attention was when she said she saw parts of Charlie reflected in Vance, something viewers instantly began debating. Some interpreted it as a harmless emotional statement made by someone going through grief, while others saw it as a sign that things in her life were moving too fast, too publicly, and perhaps too closely tied to powerful figures around her. That single moment became a reference point for many discussions, especially from people who felt the Kirk family might have been taken aback by it. Those who follow the situation closely say Robert and Catherine had always been extremely careful about keeping the family's private matters out of the public eye. Some longtime supporters remember how Charlie used to avoid posting anything that showed his kids' faces, names, or daily routines. He talked many times about wanting to keep them grounded and shielded from the intense reactions that often come with being in the spotlight. Viewers who recall this history pointed out that Charlie's approach to parenthood was rooted in privacy, control, and protection. So when people saw Erika openly discussing personal details involving the children, the contrast became even more noticeable. This contrast, according to social media chatter, may have contributed to a rise. Some commentators even said that the grandparents' recent public statement felt like more than just concern. It felt like a gentle but deliberate reminder that they were present, watching closely, and ready to stabilize things if needed. Again, none of this is confirmed, but the tone of their message raised eyebrows because of its timing. They described Erika as struggling under the emotional weight of recent events. And while many viewers saw the message as compassionate, a large number of people argued that it sounded like a carefully framed picture of concern. One commentator wrote that sometimes families use soft words to prepare others for bigger decisions behind the scenes. And that opinion was quickly spread across different platforms. Another viewer said the statement sounded like a mix of worry and strategy, and that combination created even more debate. For some, it looked like the grandparents were trying to set the stage for a bigger role around the children, especially if they believed Erika was being pulled in too many directions at once. For others, it felt like internet users were reading too deeply into every single line. The fact that no one had clear answers only made the theory spread faster. At the same time, people noticed something else. Erika had been traveling frequently. And while traveling on its own isn't unusual, the part that took over comment sections was the claim that some public flight logs appear to match her movements over several years. Viewers online began comparing dates, locations, and patterns, with some insisting it looked like she had been followed or monitored by certain aircraft. Others argued that the information might be coincidental or misinterpreted. But in the world of online speculation, once a theory gains momentum, it becomes a story of its own. And that is exactly what happened here. One user even said, "This is starting to look like a movie." And that line was repeated across entire threads. Another viewer wondered who exactly was traveling with her during public appearances, because people noticed she was often seen in groups or surrounded by unfamiliar faces. This mystery became part of the narrative, with some saying she might be meeting new people who were influencing her decisions, and others wondering if she was simply trying to rebuild her life after a devastating loss. Regardless of the explanation, the curiosity kept growing. The emotional weight of everything seemed to amplify when a short clip resurfaced of Erika explaining how she spoke to her child about Charlie's absence. She described telling her daughter that Charlie was with Jesus and that if she ever wanted to talk to him, she could look up at the sky. The sincerity in her voice touched many viewers, but others felt uneasy about how emotionally heavy that moment was for such a young child. Several online discussions suggested that perhaps conversations this personal should have remained within the family instead of becoming part of a public interview. This debate added even more layers to the conversation about whether Erika was handling grief privately or publicly. As discussions intensified, more people began speculating that Charlie's parents might be feeling the need to step in, not because of conflict, but because they believed it was the safest path for the kids. Some viewers argued that grief affects people in unpredictable ways, and that the grandparents likely wanted to provide stability during a very emotional chapter. Others believed that there were deeper differences in how Erika and the Kirks viewed family privacy, public attention, and future plans. Still, since nothing was confirmed, every interpretation remained nothing more than speculation. While this emotional complexity continued to grow, Erika's public presence also became a subject of debate. She began appearing more polished, more expressive, and more engaged in her work, which led to split opinions. Some fans admired her strength and felt she was trying to rebuild herself. Others believed she might be trying too hard to stay active in public moments instead of taking time to slow down. This contrast added fuel to ongoing conversations because it made viewers ask whether she was trying to find comfort in attention or whether she was pushing herself to appear strong even when she felt vulnerable inside. The entire situation reached a point where online discussions felt like they were expanding in every direction at once. Theories about the grandparents' intentions, analysis of Erika's interviews, questions about her travel patterns, emotional clips being reposted again and again, and speculation about the people around her all came together. And through all of this, one thing became clear in comment sections everywhere. No one agrees on what is really happening, but everyone agrees that something doesn't feel simple anymore. And that unsettled feeling is exactly what pushed even more people online to dig deeper into every new detail they could find. Whenever Erika appeared at an event, people watched her posture, her expressions, her tone, and even the individual standing near her. Each moment became a new clue, a new spark for discussion, as if everyone watching believed they might be able to piece together a larger picture if they looked closely enough. Even small clips taken from interviews started circulating with long threads attached, where people debated whether she seemed distracted, emotional, guarded, or simply exhausted. None of this had definitive answers, but every interpretation added another layer to the growing tension around her situation. In the middle of all these conversations, viewers began pointing out how Robert and Catherine seemed to carry themselves in public moments compared to Erika. People said the grandparents looked calm, collected, almost steady, in a way that contrasted sharply with the emotional weight Erika was carrying. Showing. Some commentators said this difference could be natural, especially since everyone grieves differently. Others believed it might be part of a subtle dynamic forming behind the scenes, one where the grandparents felt they needed to represent structure and stability. Whatever the reason, their calm presence became another detail the internet couldn't ignore. Theories multiplied when people brought up the past. They remembered how Charlie used to talk about keeping his family out of public chaos, especially the kids. He wasn't secretive in a negative sense, but protective in a way that made sense for someone constantly in the spotlight. So when viewers saw Erika giving emotional interviews where the children became part of the conversation, some felt conflicted. They said the contrast felt too sharp, too sudden, almost like two different approaches were clashing without being verbally addressed. This difference could have easily contributed to the growing distance people felt between Erika and the Kirks. One viewer wrote a long comment saying they didn't think Erika intended any harm, but that grief sometimes makes people cling to the things that help them feel seen or supported. Others agreed, saying she might be seeking reassurance from public audiences because that's where she feels stronger. But just as many people saw it differently, saying that public attention can't replace the kind of grounding the family seemed to want around the kids. These opposing perspectives continued to fuel the fire, turning every new development into another round of speculation. The situation grew more intense when people began discussing the idea that Erika might be surrounding herself with unfamiliar faces. Photos from recent events showed groups of people standing near her that viewers didn't recognize, and that alone became a new point of curiosity. Some commentators wondered if these were new advisors, new friends, or simply people working at the events she attended. Others thought these faces represented something more strategic, possibly part of a new environment she was entering. Because nothing was confirmed, the mystery only deepened, giving viewers more reasons to analyze her every appearance. Another moment that captured attention happened when a viewer pointed out how Erika's expression shifted whenever someone mentioned Charlie's parents during interviews. People replayed clips and debated whether the change in her voice or posture was real or imagined. Some insisted she seemed tense, like there was something she wasn't saying. Others argued she looked emotional because of the pain she was still dealing with. These interpretations created a divide, and the lack of clarity made the discussions even more passionate. Meanwhile, online conversations about the alleged flight patterns resurfaced again. People shared screenshots, maps, and dates, insisting the overlaps couldn't be accidental. Others pushed back, saying public flight logs can be easily misunderstood. In the middle of this, another claim surfaced that someone had reached out to a public figure with additional information about what might be happening behind the scenes. This single suggestion added a new spark to discussions, not because it offered clear answers, but because it fed into the idea that there might be details the public didn't know yet. Viewers also continued revisiting the clip where Erika spoke about seeing parts of Charlie reflected in J.D. Vance. This moment, while simple on the surface, became a symbol for many online discussions. Some argued it showed her longing for comfort or familiarity, while others felt it hinted at emotional vulnerability that could be easily misunderstood. People wondered how Charlie's parents felt hearing those words, and whether it triggered concerns about Erika attaching herself too quickly to influential figures. These interpretations weren't framed as facts, but as emotional reactions from people who felt invested in the family story. Another topic that kept resurfacing involved Erika's sudden shift in appearance. Viewers noticed she was dressing more boldly, standing with more confidence, and presenting herself in a polished way that wasn't common before. Some saw this as a sign of her trying to regain strength and reclaim a sense of identity. Others questioned whether she was prioritizing public visibility at a time when the family needed quiet healing. These conflicting interpretations continued to divide viewers, with each side making emotional arguments based on the moments they observed. The atmosphere became even heavier when people began discussing what they believed might be happening between Erika and the kids behind closed doors. No one claimed to know specific details, but discussions centered on the emotional challenges the family was facing. Some viewers said they could see signs that Erika was trying her best to balance her responsibilities, while others believed the grandparents were stepping in because they felt the situation demanded stability. The lack of official statements on the matter only added more fuel to the debates. One particularly emotional thread involved viewers who said they felt uneasy when Erika shared personal details about her conversations with her daughter. They argued that children dealing with grief need quiet, private support rather than public storytelling. Others defended Erika, saying she was simply expressing the pain she carried and trying to connect with others who had faced similar loss. These opposing views showed just how deeply people were invested in the story, often projecting their own emotions onto the situation. The more people talked about it, the more it seemed like everyone was trying to understand a story that had too many missing pieces. Every new clip, every public appearance, every quiet expression on Erika's face became a potential clue. And because Charlie's parents stayed mostly calm and measured in their responses, their presence added another dimension to the entire situation. Viewers said they seemed to represent stability, while Erika represented emotional struggle, creating a dynamic that fed into the ongoing speculation. Through all of this, one thing remained consistent across all conversations: the sense that something delicate was unfolding behind the scenes, something that viewers could feel but couldn't quite name. As the days went by, the discussions grew deeper, more layered, and more emotional, reflecting the complexity of a family navigating grief, pressure, and public attention all at once. And as these layers kept building, the atmosphere online became almost electric, like people were watching a slow unfolding of events that no one could clearly predict. The more viewers tried to analyze each detail, the more they realized they were dealing with a situation filled with emotion, unanswered questions, and shifting relationships. This uncertainty turned ordinary moments into major talking points. A simple pause in Erika's voice, a glance she gave during an interview, or even her silence in certain moments became enough to spark entire waves of conversations. People especially paid attention to one interview where Erika spoke about feeling overwhelmed and trying to remain strong. While some viewers admired her honesty, others sensed she was trying too hard to appear composed. They said her eyes looked tired, her voice felt strained, and her gestures seemed rehearsed. These reactions weren't statements of fact, but emotional guesses from people who felt invested in her story. And because no one knew what was truly happening behind closed doors, these interpretations gained more traction. In contrast, Charlie's parents continued appearing calm in their rare public moments. Some viewers interpreted this calmness as strength, while others believed it was a sign that they were carefully choosing their words and actions. One commenter wrote that the grandparents carried themselves with the kind of quiet confidence that comes from knowing more than they're saying. Another viewer argued that the calmness might simply reflect their way of coping with grief, choosing silence over emotion. With no official explanations, both interpretations stayed alive in online discussions. As viewers compared these two emotional energies, the tension between them became another layer of speculation. Erika appeared expressive and vulnerable, while the grandparents appeared measured and steady. Some believed this emotional contrast could cause misunderstandings, especially during a period where every decision between both sides might carry emotional weight. Others felt this difference reflected two coping mechanisms that couldn't easily align. Because nothing was publicly clarified, every opinion remained suspended in possibility. While these emotional interpretations continued, the conversations about Erika's public appearances grew louder. People noticed she had been accepting invitations to multiple events, often giving speeches that carried heavy messages. In one clip, she spoke with determination, trying to honor Charlie's legacy. Supporters praised her effort, saying she was turning grief into strength. But critics argued she was pushing herself too quickly into the public eye, putting emotional pressure on herself when she should be resting. Some said that this active pace could be a distraction from the personal healing she needed. There were also ongoing debates about the people accompanying her during these appearances. Someone pointed out that she often showed up with groups of unfamiliar faces, and this alone kept sparking curiosity. People questioned whether these individuals were new advisors, friends, or simply part of event staff. One viewer said it felt like Erika was building a new circle around herself, while another argued these assumptions might be exaggerated. Because the identities of these individuals weren't publicly known, they automatically became part of the larger mystery. Viewers slowed down clips where Erika seemed distracted or hesitant when speaking about Charlie's parents. Viewers slowed down the footage to analyze her expressions. In some frames, her jaw tightened. In others, she blinked slowly, as if choosing her words carefully. These subtleties became fuel for speculation, with people saying these small gestures hinted at unspoken emotional distance. Others insisted she was simply navigating a difficult topic with sensitivity. Once again, the absence of clarity made every interpretation possible. Meanwhile, discussions surrounding the alleged flight logs continued circulating on social media. Some users shared charts and timelines linking specific dates to public appearances. Others tried to debunk the claims, explaining that matching flight patterns might not mean anything significant. This tug-of-war between speculation and skepticism kept the topic alive, even though no one had concrete answers. The idea of secret movements, unexplained overlaps, and mysterious travels created the kind of storyline that online audiences often attach to quickly. As the mystery deepened, people also focused on the emotional impact this situation might be having on the children. Even though no factual details were confirmed, viewers expressed concerns about the emotional challenges they might be facing during this turbulent period. Some said the kids might need stable routines and quiet support, while others believed Erika was trying her best to balance her responsibilities. Many conversations revolved around the idea that children often sense tension even when nothing is said aloud. Again, this was commentary from viewers, not confirmed insight. One clip that kept resurfacing showed Erika speaking tenderly about her daughter, asking when her father would return. The moment was heartfelt, and many viewers said it broke their hearts to hear such words. But others questioned whether moments so deeply personal should be shared publicly. Some said the clip should have remained private to protect the child's emotional world, especially during such a sensitive period. This debate became yet another reason people felt the situation required careful handling. This led to more voices expressing that perhaps Charlie's parents wanted to step in, not out of conflict, but out of worry. People said the grandparents had always been present in the children's lives, though mostly quietly. Seeing them now become emotionally and publicly involved made some viewers believe they felt the need to anchor the family during this unpredictable time. Others believe the grandparents were simply reacting to changes that felt sudden, especially as Erika navigating new connections and public responsibilities. Viewers also discussed how the emotional weight of the entire situation might be influencing Erika's choices. Some believed she might be searching for people who made her feel grounded, whether those were familiar faces or new ones. This interpretation resurfaced when the clip of her mentioning Vance appeared again in trending playlists. Those who watched the moment closely said she looked emotional, almost nostalgic, as she explained the similarities she saw. Her tone sparked countless discussions, with some saying she was simply expressing respect, and others believing the moment revealed a deeper emotional layer. As more people dissected her interviews, another conversation began forming about how public attention might be affecting her. Some said the spotlight could feel like both a comfort and a burden, giving her a sense of purpose while also placing emotional expectations on her. Others argued that stepping back might help her regain clarity away from public speculation. This divide became one of the most active debates, with viewers on both sides expressing strong opinions about what they believed would be healthiest for her and the family. All of these discussions collided into a constantly shifting narrative, one where viewers felt they were piecing together a puzzle built from fragments, guesses, and emotional reactions. Small signs, subtle expressions, unfamiliar faces, calm statements, emotional interviews, and mysterious travel patterns blended together until it felt like a story without a single clear path. And in the center of all this noise, the question that kept echoing through comment sections was simple yet impossible to answer. What exactly is happening behind the scenes, and how much of what the public sees actually reflects the truth? And that uncertainty kept everyone watching closely, because every new moment seemed to shift the emotional landscape in a new direction. The more people tried to understand what might be happening, the more they realized that there were too many unanswered questions, too many subtle signals, and too many interpretations pulling the story in different directions. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It had become a full emotional conversation across countless pages, threads, and comment sections. As time passed, more viewers started noticing how Erika's schedule seemed non-stop. She appeared at events, gave speeches, accepted awards, and spoke about her experiences with a tone that balanced determination with exhaustion. Some people admired her strength, saying she was trying to honor Charlie while holding her life together. But others wondered if she was spreading herself too thin, moving so quickly between public roles that she might be neglecting the quiet healing she needed. This conflict became another wave of discussion as people debated whether her public presence was empowering or overwhelming. One moment that struck many viewers happened during a public appearance where her voice trembled while she tried to thank supporters. In that brief pause, people saw a mix of vulnerability and restraint. Some said they felt she was trying not to break down. Others believed she was carrying far more than she was letting on. This single moment grew into long discussions about how grief often hides inside busy days, how silence sometimes weighs heavier than speeches, and how being in the public eye can magnify every unspoken emotion. As these conversations continued, viewers also noticed that Erika's interactions with the people around her seemed more cautious. She listened carefully, nodded slowly, and took longer pauses before responding. Some viewers said these gestures suggested that she was being careful with her words. Others said she looked unsure who to trust. These small details gave rise to all kinds of speculation. Some believe she might be navigating complex emotional territory with different people pulling her in different directions. Others argued that she was simply overwhelmed by the amount of attention she was receiving. Meanwhile, the calm and steady presence of Charlie's parents continued to draw attention as well. People studying their public appearance described them as composed, thoughtful, and firm in their demeanor. One viewer pointed out how Catherine kept her hands folded gently in her lap during a short clip, a gesture that suggested patience and emotional control. Another viewer said Robert's tone during a brief statement felt steady, almost protective. Together, these impressions created a picture of two people who were trying to remain strong during a difficult chapter. Because of this, many viewers began discussing the emotional distance they sensed between Erika and the grandparents. Some believed the distance was unintentional, born from grief and misunderstanding. Others felt the emotional gap might reflect deeper tensions behind the scenes, even if no one spoke openly about it. Since no official statements addressed the matter, the public could only rely on their interpretations, and those interpretations often revealed more about the viewer's own emotions than about the actual sense. The discussions deepened even further when people revisited the ongoing question of Erika's travel patterns. Some users continued posting screenshots of flights they believed were connected to her, creating timelines that stretched over years. Others pushed back against the idea, saying that public flight information can be misleading. The debate became another layer in the story, not because the facts were clear, but because the mystery itself kept people engaged. One viewer commented that people were trying to connect dots without knowing whether the dots even belonged to the same picture. Another argued that the existence of so many coincidences was enough to make them curious. This curiosity intensified when conversations resurfaced about unfamiliar individuals seen near Erika at different events. People wondered whether she was building new alliances, whether these individuals represented professional support, or whether they were simply part of the environment at each event. Others believed it was natural for someone going through a high-pressure moment to be surrounded by new people, especially those offering encouragement or guidance. Yet even this simple idea turned into long debates about influence, trust, and emotional vulnerability. Viewers expressed their concerns, their theories, and their attempts to understand how someone in such a public position could navigate so many shifting relationships at once. The emotional weight of these discussions also extended to how viewers felt about the children. People shared their thoughts about how delicate grief can be for young minds, especially during times of intense public attention. Some said the grandparents might feel a responsibility to create a grounded environment for the kids, while others felt Erika might be trying to juggle everything at once because she didn't want to fall apart in front of them. Since no one knew the details of their private lives, these feelings became reflections of the public's concern rather than confirmed truths. Another moment that captured attention involved a short scene where Erika paused before speaking about the future. Her hesitation caused some viewers to wonder whether she was unsure of her next steps. Others said the pause came from being overwhelmed by the emotional weight of the conversation. This moment sparked discussions about personal identity, emotional isolation, and how grief can make the world feel both loud and quiet at the same time. People argued about what the pause meant, but no one could agree, because they were all interpreting from a distance. As these interpretations blended with older debates, the entire story seemed to stretch in multiple directions. Some viewers said Erika was trying to rebuild her life, even if that meant taking steps that others didn't understand. Others argued that the grandparents might be stepping in because they felt the situation required gentle guidance or stability. Each viewpoint added another layer to the unfolding narrative. While these emotional discussions continued, people revisited the clip where Erika spoke about seeing echoes of Charlie in someone else. That one moment remained a focal point for many viewers. Some believed it revealed longing and emotional fragility. Others believed it suggested she was trying to find strength in the memory of someone she lost. And still others wondered whether Charlie's parents interpreted it as a sign that things might be shifting too quickly. These interpretations weren't rooted in certainty, but in the emotional reactions the moment evoked. As the story expanded, viewers also questioned the long-term impact of so much public exposure. They wondered whether being under constant scrutiny might influence Erika's decisions. Some said being the center of discussions might be adding more pressure than anyone realized. Others said public engagement could help her feel supported and connected. The divide between these viewpoints made every new development feel heavier and more complicated. In the midst of all this, what stood out most was how deeply people felt the need to understand a situation they could only see fragments of. The emotional intensity surrounding these discussions reflected the public's attempt to make sense of a family navigating grief, uncertainty, shifting relationships, and public attention all at once. But no matter how many theories appeared, no one could fully grasp the truth behind the scenes. And that sense of unknown kept everyone watching, analyzing, and waiting for the next sign that might reveal something about where the story was truly heading. The truth is, no one outside this circle really knows what is happening behind closed doors. All anyone can see are the small gestures, the quiet pauses, the public moments, and the reactions that appear across different platforms. People are trying to understand a story built from fragments, and in that process, the emotions have become louder than the facts. Every expression Erika gives, every calm statement from the grandparents, and every unexplained detail that surfaces adds another layer to a situation already filled with uncertainty. Viewers are left wondering what this means for everyone involved. Some feel Erika is standing in the middle of a storm she never asked for. Others believe Charlie's parents are doing what they feel is right out of concern for the family's future. And some think the shifting relationships, the online theories, the emotional interviews, and the mysterious moments are all pieces of a story still unfolding in ways no one expected. What remains certain is that the public is watching closely. They are invested, emotional, and deeply curious about where things go from here. Will there be clarity, distance, or reconciliation? Will the story settle or continue evolving in unexpected ways? Right now, nothing feels final, and every new moment only adds to the questions floating through comment sections everywhere. If you've been following this situation from the beginning, then you know how quickly things can change and how every small shift can spark an entirely new wave of reactions. So stay tuned, because whatever happens next will likely shape the entire conversation all over again. Make sure you like the video, share it with someone who needs to catch up on this emotional roller coaster, and tell us in the comments what you think is really happening behind the scenes. Your thoughts always shape the next chapter.